Hey everyone, welcome back to Communicate 101, India's favorite communication skills podcast. I'm your host Sarika Singh. Today, I'm going to start the episode with a confession. I remember the time when I, for the first time in my life, walked into a boardroom for a first ever senior leadership presentation. I had done the work, weeks of research, 30 slides, multiple rehearsals. But the only thing my brain kept reminding me was, look at their degrees, their experience, their age. Why would they listen to you, Sarika? And suddenly, the AC felt too cold. My throat felt too dry. And I started speaking faster and faster and faster. Not because I didn't know my stuff, but because deep inside, I felt they were more qualified than me. So I didn't feel qualified to say it. They were all senior leaders from top tier world universities. I really respected them. But did I respect myself as much? During a break, my line manager, who actually has a huge role in mentoring me, gently asked me, Sarika, why do you dim your own light? I looked down and I said something I'll never forget. I said, I'm smart, but I'm not as qualified as them. Today, as I'm talking, repeating these words, it gives me goosebumps. Today, I've heard the same line from CEOs, from freelancers, from homemakers, from freshers. I'm smart, but I'm not as qualified as them. I'm capable, but do I deserve to speak? People will judge me if they find the gaps. Because we often start feeling that our intelligence, like I felt that time, is held hostage by a certificate. That's what today's episode is about. I know my stuff, but I don't feel qualified enough. What if others find out I'm not that great? Do I really deserve this role? Yes, the famous Imposter Syndrome. A sneaky little monster that hides behind polished resumes and big titles. So if you've ever sat in a meeting and felt like a baby in the room, if you've kept quiet even though your point could save the project, if you felt judged even once because you look younger than your role, this episode is for you. If you're any of this, if you've downplayed your success by saying, Arre, bas luck tha, or worried someone will discover your flaws, then this episode is for you, boss. Over time, I've learned 3 tiny hacks. These hacks have really helped me. And trust me, they will help you blend into the hearts, not just into boardrooms. This episode is a warm hug wrapped in practical tools, the encouragement you need, plus real strategies that you can use today. So grab your coffee or your emotional support water bottle and settle in. You deserve to feel confident speaking up for yourself. Because intelligence and confidence are not twins. Sometimes the smartest people feel the smallest. Hit play, it's time to own your voice. Let's roll. Let me take you back to the early 90s. Please, I'm not old, I'm not prehistoric, but the truth is, early 90s was when I began. So, early in my career, before that COO title, before the frameworks, before the jargon, I was invited to speak to a room full of managers. And these were people who were actually leading teams when my biggest leadership challenge was controlling volleyball in school. Inside, I was thinking, who signed me up for this? Outside, I tried to look like I ran Harvard. The session started awkward because they stared and I panicked. My shirt suddenly felt too tight for my ribs. And in self-defense, I said just the truth. Look, I don't have 20 years in HR like some of you, but in the last 5 years, I've coached over 700 college kids who panic during interviews. And I've seen exactly what works and what fails. There was a tiny pause. And then heads started nodding. Not because I had a PhD, but because I had proof. Fresh, lived experience. Authority you can't buy, only accumulate. You don't need a degree to sound credible. You just need momentum. So borrow confidence from what you've lived, what you've observed, what you've measured. You can phrase authority in real life when you say things like, here's what I consistently saw when leading my last team. Or when you say something like, across every project I've worked on, one pattern stands out. Don't I look confident when I say this phrase? Try saying, the data from our last 3 launches makes this very clear. Now, these are authority phrases. Notice what you don't hear in any of those sentences. You hear no apologies, no qualifications, no, I hope this makes sense. Because when you speak from your own evidence, nobody stops to ask. Ask what? But beta, where is your certificate? People care about sense, not signatures. The reality that you live is your qualification. I know a very senior public speaker who does not have the qualification, but is an excellent public speaker and a coach. So it does not come from the degrees alone. It comes with your experience. It comes with what you have to give. It comes with what is the offer. So the reality that you live is your qualification. Start using it. Let's roll. People feel safe around those who show vulnerability. When you let others see that you don't have all the answers, they lean in instead of leaning away. I work a lot with freelancers. I remember there was this young editor, video editor, my EA tells me, he was terrified to share his work with me. Whenever he had to show me a video draft, his whole body language screamed panic. I loved what he created, but from outside, I think I looked like a Supreme Court judge who was about to hand down a life sentence. Because poor boy, he kept asking me, ma'am, is something wrong? Should I redo the whole thing? That's when I realized I had a resting, serious professional face, not exactly inspiring confidence. So I tried something different. I leaned back, I smiled, and I told him, I said, see, I love what you did. I need your creativity to make my ideas actually watchable. Because I am a professional PowerPoint slide person. Flat, boring, too much text. You are the magic that brings it alive. And then it happened. He relaxed, he laughed, he leaned in, and suddenly suggestions followed, ideas bounced back and forth, and the video went from good to wow. That's exactly what vulnerability does. It creates permission for others to be themselves. You don't need a dramatic reveal. Even a tiny admission works. When you say something like, you're the cool one here. I'm the one Googling how to not look scary in meetings. Help me look human. When you say something like this, you do look human. When you say something like, I have some ideas, but I really need your inputs to make them work. There's sincerity, there's a touch of humor, and all this accumulates and becomes instant warmth. People stop seeing you as perfect and start seeing you as someone worth following, listening to, and collaborating with. Share with me how this strategy worked for you, the vulnerability one. I love sharing your wins on my Insta handle, which is Communicate 101. I keep sharing tips and tricks to make you a better communicator, so don't forget to follow Communicate 101 on Insta. Coming up in the next segment is strategy number 3. Did you know that people subconsciously match your pace? If you rush, they rush. If you stress, they stiffen. If you relax, they breathe easier too, and ideas start flowing. Some time ago, I was working with Erin. He's a project manager. I'm using Erin's name with his permission. Now, Erin is exceptionally brilliant. He can do great things himself, but his team struggled to keep up. And that's what I was resolving for him. Every meeting, he led like a high-speed train he was trying to control. Slides flipping too fast, sentences tumbling one over the other, agendas rattled off like countdowns. By minute 3, the team looked like a child lost in a Kumbh Mela. I mean, they were smart. They were all capable people. But they couldn't catch up. And neither could Erin. So there was a gap in their communication, which I was supposed to bridge in. So we tried something small. Erin slowed down, intentionally, right from the start. The next meeting, he walked in. He paused at the door. He smiled at the team. I mean, they were shocked. But yeah, he smiled at the team. And he said jokingly, "Relax, everyone. Today's meeting has 0 homework. We're just here to talk, not suffer." The whole room smiled. He actually sat back for the first time ever, sipped his coffee, and let the room breathe. What happened next was magical. People were no longer frozen. The ideas that hadn't surfaced in months, they popped up. Someone even said, laughing, "I didn't know I had these thoughts until just now." Erin realized that slowing didn't make him look like a weak leader. It made him inviting, calm, and authoritative. Let me show you how to use this in real life. The next time you walk into a meeting or a discussion or even a tough one-on-one, pause at the door. Smile first. A little smile, but smile. Maybe compliment someone or just admit some goof up that you did that morning. Maybe you spilled coffee on your shirt. Then take a sip of coffee or water. These tiny steps signal to everyone this is a safe zone, and it makes people relax. When they relax, they listen and they also participate, because you don't want only listeners, you want participants. When they participate, your authority automatically grows without you raising your voice or speeding up. Remember, authority isn't about rushing through the points or proving how smart you are. It's about creating space where others feel smart too. And that I've learned the hard way, friends. Because this is what helps you influence people naturally. Try this out. I'll see you in the next segment. I hope this episode helps you reclaim your confidence. So if you've been feeling, I'm smart, but I'm not enough. I know it, but I'm not qualified to say it. What if people find out I don't have the paper? Then this episode, I'm sure, would have helped you in some way. You're more ready than you think. Your voice deserves the mic. And your experience is already your qualification. People don't fall in love with your polish. They fall in love with the way you laugh at your own silliness. That random obsession you have with your pet or your playlist. Your oops moments, your humanness. So try doing what has worked for me. Stop trying to be impressive. Start being a work in progress. I'm also a work in progress. I still get blasted by my daughter who says, "Mom, why don't you just loosen up?" I'm trying a little. So let's try loosening up together, because that's where connection actually thrives. If this episode gave you even one aha moment, do share it with someone who needs it. Up until next time, speak with clarity, write with a heart, and remember, you're smarter than you give yourself credit for. Thank you for listening to this episode of Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips with Sarika Singh. If you want to be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the podcast. I'll be back to share more stories, more life experiences, and more communication tips every Friday. If you want to reach me or connect with me, just put your comments in the comment box below or mail me at info@sarikasingh.in. I know you're going to rate and review this podcast, so a big thank you in advance. Stay tuned and think about what we talked today.